What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone for a daily news show where we're going to talk about quite a lot, and the stories are getting weird. We have a new midfield target, as you can see on the screen. Vlawi is asking for money to leave the club. Apparently, Jadon Sancho is not an alternative to Conceição, even though Di Marzio said so, and now Di Marzio came out and said, actually, he's not an alternative, and the club might want to sign both. There is a very weird update when it comes to Timothy Weah, and that kind of shows you, if that's correct, how poorly run or confused we are right now, and it is what it is. And there is an update on Alberto Costa as well, because his time at the club seems over, and Douglas Luiz as well. Before we get into it, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel as always, and yeah, let's start off with André from Wolverhampton, because the club is looking at him if they sell Douglas Luiz, according to Di Marzio. I know it's Di Marzio again. I know the entire window is Di Marzio, because everyone seems to know absolutely nothing, even though Di Marzio has proven not to be 100% accurate at all. And I will get that when the Jadon Sancho news comes up. But André is more of a six. Douglas Luiz can play as a six, but I wouldn't, for me, André is more of a pure six, I would say. I haven't watched tons of André, I'm not gonna lie, so I needed to look up a bit of a few things before I actually confirm what I've seen from André is just like he's a six. Like, he can win the ball back, and he's good at winning the ball back. Actually, he's pretty decent as well when it comes to making some key pass, or like, I don't want to call it keep, like good passes into the final third. Now, when the news came out, I was just confused. I was like, you still have Douglas Luiz, and that's the story. You need to sell Douglas Luiz, but like, what happened with Douglas Luiz that you're like, no, Douglas Luiz, you go, and we go again and sign Andre probably for around 35, 40 million euros, because they paid 25 when they got him from the Brazilian league last summer. When it comes to him, what I don't like is the moment we got linked to the player, and even if you don't know much of him, and that's fair because I don't do, it's like he has 0 goals and 0 assists. I'm like, yeah, but look at the position he plays and the profile. Like, it's not all about goals and assists. If we sign, it's like, I don't know, if we sign like a pure six, you're not going to look at the goals and assists, are you? Like, that makes absolutely no sense. Goals and assists, yes, you love if you have it, but he's not the guy who's going to make the final pass. He's the guy, if he makes a pass, he's make the pass before the guy, for the guy who's going to have the assist or something like that. That's the type of player he is. He wins the ball back, he's high energy, and that's what Tudor wants. That's what Tudor likes. If you want to press, and that's what we want to do, and we want to press high, maybe not to the extent like PSG do, then yeah, you're going to need to get linked to these type of players. Otherwise, it's just going to collapse. Now, very early story, early stages, excuse me. Probably not, something that's going to happen, I'm assuming, but it's out there, so we discussed it. Now let's move on to Douglas Luiz really quickly, because it's kind of linked to it, and then I'll move on to the weird story when it comes to Alberto Costa and Timothy Weah. So his time is over. Gazzetta dello Sport is saying that West Ham are interested and are willing to give us a 10 million loan fee and then a 30 million in an obligation to buy this summer. I mean, it's a flop, because we signed Douglas Luiz, and I don't know why we signed him. Mota doesn't like him. Tudor doesn't like him. I have no idea what's going on, because Colt Miners keeps getting chances. McKennie, since January, has been poor and keeps getting chances. So I have no idea what happened with Douglas Luiz. It's a shame, even if you didn't like Douglas Luiz, and that's fair. You cannot like a player, or the character or the abilities of a player. But surely, even then, if I don't like Douglas Luiz, you must be thinking, what the hell happened? Why is he not getting minutes? What is the issue with Douglas Luiz? I actually want to know. But his time is over at the club. That's extremely clear. The club woke up, so he's going. If the club can get 40 million in total, I still think that's a poor deal, considering he's selling to the Premier League. That's the key, selling to the Premier League. But yeah, his time is over. And at one point, like, if the coach is not going to use you and we paid a lot of money for you, we need to find a solution for either party, for him and for us. So his time is over. It's just, when will it happen, and to who is he being sold? Now, I want to get into this one. No, let's get Jadon Sancho first out of the way, and then Alberto Costa and Timothy Weah. Jadon Sancho. Remember Di Marzio saying Conceição is the main target. They want to accelerate for Conceição. and Sancho is the alternative. And I was like, the moment that news came out, I was like, that cannot be true, because you spend way too much time in the Jadon Sancho deal. You can still walk away from the Jadon Sancho deal. I'm not saying that, but you spend way too much time into the Jadon Sancho deal to say, actually, he's an alternative. You wasted too much time for an alternative, way too much time, in my opinion, when the Conceição deal was about a couple of millions and not 20 millions of difference, what I was trying to say. Now Di Marzio is saying that his name remains on the table and he could arrive regardless if Conceição joins, if two wingers are leave Juve, and the club is offering 10 million plus 5. I forget about that offer. That's complete BS. 100% that will get declined. I don't think we really made an offer. I think we know what the price is, and we have no real issue with paying that. I will put it that way. Two wingers leaving the club. I don't know who that are. I think they view Nico Gonzalez as a winger, so I'm assuming Nico Gonzalez. There are links about a Saudi move, and period, we want to move on Nico Gonzalez. Is it going to be easy? No. If a Saudi comes in and he's like, yeah, I'll take it, then it becomes easy. But right now, it's not looking easy. I think Mbangula is viewed as a winger. I'm not even talking about positions here and right, left side. I'm just at the news report. My point was always that I think the club wants to sign both. Obviously, you need to move out players, but I don't think it was, oh, if we get Conceição, forget about Jadon Sancho. Or if we get Jadon Sancho, forget about Conceição. That was the feeling I had 3 weeks ago. But the more time was going by, I was like, no, the club wants to try to sign both. Obviously, they need to offload players. That is a given. So Di Marzio changes tune in about 5 days. Now let's move on to the Alberto Costa and Timothy Weah story, because they go hand in hand. Let's start with Alberto Costa from Nicosia, saying that Sporting have an agreement with Alberto Costa. They have offered 18 million euros, bonuses included, and Juve want more, and they also will get 10% on the future sale. When it comes to Costa, keep in mind the Sporting coach is his old coach at Vitória Guimarães, I think it was, so that, kind of makes sense for him. For us, what I don't like, I'm going to be honest, is that we're trying to move out so many players when we already, we needed backup for Alberto Costa, because I don't think he was good enough to start week in, week out, Now you're moving him out. Now you need a starter and a backup, or not, because I will get into the Timothy Weah thing in a second. It makes things much, much worse. What I also think is overboard is people saying, because I'm very skeptical about Comolli. I will give him a shot, like I gave Juntili a shot, but right now it feels a bit off. It feels a bit confusing what we really want to do, and not certain what we want to do. And they believe that they can revive certain players that I think are impossible to revive. If you keep Kostic, then I cannot really take you serious as a club. Being Comolli, I just can't. Even if you sign, I don't know, whoever you sign, I cannot really take you serious at that regard. When it comes to Alberto Costa, I'm going to say he played 6 games. Maybe. Did he play 6 games? He had one very good game. I think it was against Alain. No, actually, against Casablanca, they also, Widadia also had a good game. Against Venezia, it was a horror show. A lot of other games, it was all over the place. And I was like, yeah, he's raw, The guy cannot defend. That's why I said he cannot be a starter, but I will keep him if you get a main guy and you play him. Against Venezia, he was getting cooked. Yes, in the back three, but he was getting cooked. Against Man City, he was getting cooked on the most basic stuff, just positioning, not reading the game, very easy passes you should be sniffing out, and he had no clue what's happening. So clearly he's not a good defender. Moving forward, he is interesting. So when we come to this deal, I will not go overboard depending on who we sign, but I find it very strange. I do find it very strange. I don't get it. And that is where the Weah thing comes in. It's from Giovanni Albanese, saying that if we sell Alberto Costa, it could block Timothy Weah's move to Marseille, unless the offer is really that good, obviously, and it allows us to sign 2 fullbacks. You know how bad this looks. Let's be real. We told Timothy Weah, go Nottingham Forest, accept Nottingham Forest. And he said no. We kicked him out of the squad for a game. Then we brought him back into the squad. Then we're in talks to Marseille. And now you're like, actually, you can stay because we're selling Alberto Costa. You know how insane that is for a player you kicked out of the squad for a game. That's why I talk about this club being all over the place. These are the things I'm talking about. That makes no sense. Either you respect the player or you completely disrespect him. And with that, I mean, either you keep him in the squad and you're trying to sell him and you play it fair, or you kick him out of the squad, basically. You let him train on his own or whatever, because you need to force him out. And that situation cannot change. We did it with McKennie last summer. Oh, please come back. Now you can say, look at where it took us. And now we're doing it again with Timothy Weah. No. If you made the decision, you want to move out Timothy Weah, and now you made the decision to move out Alberto Costa, you signed 2 new ones. You cannot go back to players you clearly do not want at the club. That's my point. When it comes to certain keeping players you do not want at the club, but you keep him just for the sake of keeping him, forget about the season coming up. Timothy Weah is not good enough. I don't like, oh, he's a good backup. Forget about it. He offers nothing. So give me, if you sell Alberto Costa, 2 new fullbacks. It seems impossible considering the position, considering the timing. It's already the second week of July. People say, stay calm. I mean, come on, 2 weeks have passed. Like, it's a month and a half before the window shuts, and we have actually done nothing. Besides Jonathan David, we moved out nothing. We signed basically nothing. And it feels we're not even close to anything, but that's a different debate. You cannot do that with Timothy Weah. Stick by your decision and, sign 2 fullbacks, because that's the situation you created, and now you need to deal with it. And then the final bit of news is Vlahovic from Nikoshira, said that there will be a meeting with his agent and Juve to discuss his future. The club will tell him he's not in the plans. They will try to find a solution. However, he's asking for a payout. That's like, do I need to talk about it even more? That's the situation. Vlahovic is willing to stay and see out his contract, or he's telling the club, if you want me to get out, pay me half of my money, whatever, of the wages, and then I will leave. That's the situation at the club. Is it fair? It's his money. If he doesn't want to leave, he has every right to do that. Is that something I was expecting from him? No. So I don't know what happened behind the scenes. Is he thinking about his career right now? No, absolutely not. That I find even stranger, because I didn't, see that in him. But that's the situation. We're going to need to pay Dusan Vlahovic to leave his club after we already paid him a shitload of money to not do anything the last 2 seasons. So that is the situation, and we need to deal with it. The club is going to need to deal with it. Komoli didn't inherit this. I get it, but he's going to need to deal with it. He's going to need to solve it. That's why you brought in, and I don't feel sorry. Figure it out, So in the comments, let me know what you think about the André link. Especially let me think about the Weah situation, that now he might end up staying after we kicked him out of the squad. And also let me hear what you think about the Jadon Sancho. Do you think it's possible to get him and Conceição? And that's it for me. I will speak to you guys tomorrow, probably. Ciao.